Okay, I will call the meeting to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's July 14, 2022 revised order extending remote participation by all members in any meeting of a public body. This meeting of the Great Barrington Selectboard will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and our parties with a right or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Pursuant to MGL 7C 30A, Section 20F, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. This meeting is being recorded by the town, by the Berkshire Edge, the Berkshire Eagle, and other members of the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listing of agenda items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. Start with a attendance, a roll call vote. Garfield, Reed. You're
here.
muted. Thank you. Eric Gabriel.
Here.
Lee Davis.
Here.
And Steve Bannon. There are 4 of us present. We had the minutes of August 8th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of August 2022.
Second.
A motion by Lee, a second by Eric. Any discussion? All votes are roll call. So Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Select Board's announcements and statements. Garfield.
Well, just a little thing regarding GB Day. I don't know if I had numbers on that day, but there was 35 folks from the food co-op. It was about 15, I think I said at Calix. A couple here and there. I don't want to call it a complete disaster, but I think it was okay. I feel enough that I'd like to try something maybe a little different next year, but wouldn't mind giving it another shot with the boards okay when it comes time.
Thanks, Commissioner. Eric.
Yeah, just I got a few things here. One, I just want to welcome Joe Aberdale to the town as far as taking the position as the Public Works. And I just want to say thank you to Mark Pahinsky and town staff for being able to fill that position in a time when hiring and finding staffing across the board has been very difficult for no matter what business you're in. And then finding someone as qualified as that, I think as Joe is, I think is going to be a big win for the town, and excited to be seeing him around town hall and to be, have him on the team there. And then second, just want to say that on Thursday night at 6:30, the HIC or the Housatonic Improvement Committee is going to have another meeting, and we're going to discuss the 2 proposals from tonight for the school. And also we'll be discussing the Housatonics party in the park that we're hoping to pull off on October 1st. So just a few things if anybody wants to come and discuss tonight's presentations, and anybody wants to come and discuss the future party in the park, that would be this Thursday night at 6:30. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Lee.
Sure. A few updates from me. On Tuesday, August 16th, I attended a meeting of the Housatonic Waterworks customers in the Berkshire Pulse building. And really the resounding feeling among many others was immediate help for our low-income folks and elderly folks, especially in Flag Rock. So I know that we're going to be speaking about Housatonic Waterworks Executive Committee or session after this meeting, but I did want to relay the overwhelming need for immediate action to help our elderly folks and low-income folks who are residents and customers in Housatonic. So that was a meeting that took place on Tuesday, August 16th. The second update I'd like to give is this Saturday, August 27th, in the Housatonic Riverwalk Park, which is on 20 River Street in Great Barrington. There's going to be a special program of music, and poetry celebrating W.E.B. Du Bois' I've Known Rivers. And it'll also include a walking tour of downtown of some of the sites. So there'll be a reception afterwards. But the actual event is set this Saturday from 2 to 5. I'll be representing the town of Great Barrington. I'm very honored to do that. And we'd like to see everyone come down. So again, that's Housatonic Riverwalk this Saturday, August 27th from 2 to 5 to celebrate W.E.B. Du Bois. And there'll be a special celebration there. And finally, the Housing Subcommittee met on Tuesday, August 9th. I was elected the chair of the Housing Subcommittee, and Malcolm Fick from the Planning Board was elected vice chair of the Housing Subcommittee. We are very grateful to have Caroline Valley of the Habitat for Humanity come speak and give us an update on what's happening in Housatonic with the site over there on North Plain Road. Our next meeting is September 6th at 1 p.m., which is a Tuesday. So it's an afternoon meeting, Housing Subcommittee, again on Tuesday, September 6th at 1 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Town Manager's report. Mark?
Thanks, Steve. The first update I have for you this evening is Housatonic Waterworks. And as Lee mentioned just a minute ago, we'll be meeting at the conclusion of this meeting to continue our strategy sessions with Town Council. And in addition to hearing from friends and family in Housatonic, we're getting copied on several complaints right now and have been for a few weeks that are being filed with DEP and DPU. So I just wanted to thank everyone who's copying us on those emails just to keep us in the loop here at Town Hall. I also wanted to just mention that I had a very productive conversation with staff from Senator Hines' office last week, and I hope to have some news soon about ways we can offer at least some temporary relief to Housatonic residents and customers while we continue to research longer range plans. And I have one add-on for this evening, and that's just a quick staffing update that I did not include on the agenda, but Eric covered some of this earlier, but Joe Averdale started his new role here as our Public Works Superintendent last Monday. He's off and running, and I just wanted to welcome him aboard as well. Our new library director, Samara Klein, who's a resident of Housatonic, will be starting her new role as our Director of Libraries on Monday, August 29th. So we're looking forward to welcoming her to our staff as well. And she's already a familiar face in town and in our libraries. And then lastly, for this evening, Sue Carmel, our town accountant, will be stepping down this Friday for a similar role in a different another community. So I wanted to just take this opportunity to thank her for her 4+ years of service to the town and wish her all the best going forward. And I guess the last thing I wanted to mention tonight to the board and to everyone listening at home, we do have a transition plan in place to ensure that all of our vendor and payroll warrants continue being processed and all aspects of our town finances are managed during the search for her successor. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Public hearing. William Heaton and Christine Bump for Black Sheep Brewing Company, DBA Big Elm Brewing at 389 Stockbridge Road for a new Farmer Series pouring permit. Christine Bump, manager. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing? You're muted, please.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
I move that we open the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye. Go right ahead with your presentation of what your plans are, please.
Well, the property at 389 Stockbridge Road is going to serve as sort of a secondary tap room to our existing business. We've been in Sheffield for over 10 years. Previously, Christine and I had a brew pub in Pittsfield. So we've been making beer and selling beer in the Berkshires for about 17 years now. And this is just sort of the newest extension of our business. That's the essence of it. We can make and we can sell the beer that we make there. And it's only going to be our products, things like that.
We're also going to have, it's not going to be like another bar in town. It's more of a social gathering place. Our hours wouldn't be any past 8 p.m., probably noon to 8, noon to 7 on weekdays. It's more of a place for people to come and have a pint before dinner, after dinner, maybe grab a 4-pack on their way home from work, that kind of thing. Just kind of trying to expand our market from, we're kind of in the corner of Southern Berkshires. We get a lot of activity from New York and Connecticut, but we don't see a whole lot of foot traffic from Pittsfield or sometimes even Great Barrington. So I figured we would, bring ourselves up your way instead of begging people to come down our way.
Thank you very much. Public comment? Seeing none, board questions or comments?
I got just one question, just as far as the Farmers Series pouring permit. So somebody will be able to go in, have a pint or two, or try your sample, and then they can also buy your product there, as far as whether it's 4-packs, 6-packs, or everything else, correct? So yeah, there'll be some sort of traditional bar and tables, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyone else? Lee, go ahead.
So this is a farmer brewer license. I'm just curious, do we have any others in Great Barrington right now, or is this the first one?
This is the first license of this kind that we will have issued in Great Barrington.
Okay. And there's no limit on these? I'm just trying to clarify my.
No, there's no limit on our end that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Anyone else? Motion to close the public hearing.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
A motion, a second. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to grant Black Sheep Brewing Company, doing business as Big Elm Brewing, a new Farmers Series pouring permit.
Second that.
Motion, a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye. It's unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to seeing you open.
We do too. Thanks.
Okay, the next is the Housatonic School redevelopment presentation. Let us just set up and recognize some people, then Mark can introduce.
Sure, I'll go ahead and get started. So this board, through its staff, issued an RFP, or a request for proposals, on January 26th, followed by a very aggressive marketing campaign. And that those efforts yielded us 4 proposals by the submission deadline of June 10th. And after a thorough staff review, it was determined that only 2 of these proposals met the minimum requirements. So the first of 2 proposals tonight, we're going to hear from Arate Venture Partners, LLC. And you're all promoted as panelists, so you can share your screen as needed.
Mark, do you want to just go, let's just go over the process a little bit tonight. So tonight's the time for everyone, the 2 groups, to make their presentations. Then following that, Mark, you can probably explain it better than I can.
Sure. So we'll hear initial presentations this evening by both developers. And the next step will be for staff to request and collect the phase 2 information, which, if you refer to the RFP, is noted on page 14 and 15. And then at that point, once we've collected all that data from the 2 potential developers, we'll schedule the next meeting with the board.
And then that'll be the time for board comment, board questions, and also public comment. So this is a preliminary. This is the beginning of the process. So go right ahead, Kate.
Great. Thank you, Steve. I'm Kate McCormick. I'm here representing our Venture Partners. I know the board's familiar with me, but for the record, I'm a principal at McCormick Merton Marcus. I'm a real estate zoning land use attorney here in town. I'm 4th generation Housatonic lifelong resident. I went to Housatonic school. My mother taught at the school, and I was extremely involved in the zoning changes that took place a few years back in Housatonic to promote the reutilization of the school and the mills. So I'm honored to be involved in the project. I'm honored that I'm working with my clients on this project as well. I hope the board awards the project to my clients so that I could see this project through. Joining me today is Jeff Glickman and Elliot Fireworker. Jeff with Elliot will act as the general partners for this project. Jeff hails from Toronto and Elliot from New York. Both Jeff and Elliot have vast experience in rehabilitation and repositioning of existing buildings into mixed use spaces. Jeff is going to act as the point person, so I'm going to turn over this in a moment. But before I do, I just wanted to also introduce Anthony Barnaba, who you can see on the screen as well. He's of Blue Line Design. Anthony's been practicing architecture in the Berkshire since the early 1990s. Again, I'm sure the board's familiar with Anthony and his work, and I'm sure you all know what mark he will bring to this project and ultimately leave for the town with the community spaces. Also joining the team is Suzanne Ward as the real estate consultant. She's a 22-year real estate veteran in the Berkshires and the founder of Housatonic Real Estate in the Village. And she, along with her team at Housatonic Real Estate, will act as the real estate consultants throughout the project. And long-term, they'll act as realty management. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Jeff Glickman. If any questions are at the end, which it doesn't sound like you're going to get to tonight, let me know and I can field them. But without further ado, Jeff.
Thank you so much, Kate, Kathleen. It's a pleasure to be speaking to the select board. Thank you all so much for your time. Regardless of however this goes, we're thrilled to have been able to present to you with our RFP and with our proposal, and we're thrilled to be able to speak here tonight. And we're excited about the potential of the project. And I wanted to just sort of echo some of the things that also on a side note, Elliot is actually, he just messaged me that he is unable to join, not because he doesn't want to, but because he's traveling and he's trying to do it by phone and his phone won't give him the access that he needs. But we were prepared for this. And so I just wanted to be aware that Elliot is very much here in spirit. As Kate was saying, both Elliot and myself are extremely passionate when it comes to repositioning or repurposing of properties, particularly properties with character and with heritage or historical natures to them, if not necessarily historically zoned or deemed. We are excited by taking spaces that have character, that have history, that have a presence to them, and then putting that sort of new spin into them, revitalizing their use, invigorating them with energy, and seeing them sort of flourish again with people, with use, with purpose for being. That's what we do. Elliot has a significant history of doing it in the United States, and I have a history of doing it in Canada, and now looking at several projects in the United States. Particularly because there's more of these types of properties here, and also because of the fact that they're available for more reasonable prices frankly. That being said, we did look at the school building, and it's stunning. Seeing it sit atop the hill in downtown Housatonic, and seeing the views from the building itself and what's around it, the Alice Bobrisky playground, we really felt a strong calling to it. And the project, as we see it going, our vision for the project is very much in our wheelhouse. It's exactly the type of thing that we like to do. So with that in mind, I'd just like to talk about some of the project goals. So the first thing is we wanted to make the building as per some of the desires that were kind of outlined in the RFP that the select board had netted out and stated in the guidelines. We wanted to make the building functional, practical, forward thinking, and also a mixed use building. There's something magic. It's our belief that something magical happens when there's a mixed use component, when you have people both living in a place and also either commercial or other business use or institutional use on site. So we wanted to combine those elements. We also wanted to tie in the building a bit better to the plot that it's situated on, as well as what's situated to the south, the playground itself. We wanted to highlight the heritage and the existing beauty of the building that's already there, noting that obviously in its current state, it needs a lot of work. And we wanted to also try and serve the community of Great Barrington with more rental supply. That's why we focused on a purpose-built rental model as opposed to a condominium model. We wanted to sort of deal with the landscaping outside to sort of serve all of the above of all those factors that I just noted. So with that in mind, and I know you have our presentation, I'll just sort of go over it again to make sure that what we're intending on doing with the building is clear. The top two floors, floors 2 and 3, are going to be turned into 14 residential units, 7 per floor. Those residential units are going to be high quality rental units. Everything that one might expect: independent heating and cooling, washer dryers involved in every unit, high quality finishings and fixtures that also sort of lend themselves to the style of the building. Kind of, lack of better words, and again, sometimes I get tripped up on design features, but eclectic sort of neo-industrial design that sort of works with the brick and beam nature of the building as it exists. So effectively, units that really fit the fit and finish and the feel for the building itself. And all those units, we have a mix of 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms, and studios. We're going to make units that people want to be in, that's going to get the kind of use that we're shooting for. The ground floor is going to be turned into a commercial space. Our project is going to take it as far as a clean shell with, obviously roughed in heating and cooling, and with the space being opened and prepared for use by a commercial or institutional tenant. We are at present leaving what that use specifically is going to be a little bit open. Because we want to find the right partner. And when I say partner, I don't mean a financial partner, but the right fit to be in that space. And we're planning on working with the community, with Great Barrington and Housatonic, to try and find the right tenant for that space. But ultimately, something that we would all be proud to have in the ground floor of that building. On the outside of the building, what we're going to be doing is, along the south side of the building, is digging down the grade about 3 feet, so that effectively we have a walkout. We'll have a hardscaped walkout, which will allow for that ground floor to have much more light, much more access, and much more sort of familiarity, so that it's not, we're not putting somebody in a basement. Really will be truly a ground floor unit. And that is going to sort of help with the hardscaping that we're doing. I'll let Anthony Barnaba talk about this in a bit in a second. It's going to tie in to the playground better. It's going to sort of have a better fit and finish to sort of integrate with the surrounding areas in the same plot of land. On top of that, one of the things we're going to be doing is getting effectively a tent, a sort of pop-up gazebo that we're planning on having when desired by the tenant or by the town for use of an event, which the tenant will integrate with, a sort of pop-up tent that will be able to go at the east side of the property towards the back of the building. And that will have, when erected, a great flow into the playground and with the rest of the surrounding property so that we can have events there, because we want the building to be a sort of a center and a place for events to happen and for life to happen. We want active use. So that is basically an overview of what we're doing with the property, what we intend on doing with the property. With that in mind, I'd like to turn it over to our architect, Anthony Barnabas, very passionate about the project, and he can sort of fill in a lot of the color detail on what we've sort of just generally tossed out there. Anthony.
Hello. Really, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm thrilled to be here. I checked your agenda. I noticed, select board, that you all have packets in your packets. You can see the drawings. All the drawings, while they're colored and rendered, they are to scale. They're from measured drawings that we took of the building. We worked with your site plans that were accurate to the inch. So while they're sketchy, they are accurate and feasible in terms of being technically feasible. If we sort of go to 30,000 feet up in the air and we look at the plan of Housatonic, and we do a little historical research and we think it through, we're going to ask ourselves, why is that school in the center of this village? And in its layout, I think the school is center stage. And I think in its historical layout, the land around it was meant to be the village's central park. I think that was the original intent of the layout. And in 2022, with the rehab of the school, I think the rehab of that piece of land that comprises the Husi Dome, the school, and the Alice Pobrisky Parkette should be conceived in its entirety. When you rehab a historic building, you also want to look at the environmental opportunities for sustainability, whether it's solar or heat or those aspects. I think for a lot of reasons, the environmental component to really play up here is water. The lot itself is completely covered in asphalt. Simply pulling that away and positioning this building within a landscape setting will go a long way for the aesthetics of the town. But as a matter of practicality, it allows us to introduce rain gardens to help with storm runoff and storm management. The rain gardens could be done in such a way that it becomes a lush botanical garden for the center of the village. Along with mixed use, which I think goes a long way to support a sustainable local economy. There is also the idea of the events and the idea that it's part of placemaking. As Jeff mentioned, we want to help facilitate with the design and the layout of the property, the ability to host the events. But really, at the end of the day, it's going to be our ability and for all of us to cooperate to create what those events are. I'm really happy to see that already within the village, people are talking about events and organizing around that. I think it's great. There's an axiom that says hospitality is the foundation of all economic development. The beauty of having those events is they are low risk, high reward, and you can learn as you go. You don't have to worry about mistakes. You can build on that. And through that process, and it's not going to be through me, but through that process, you learn what is desirable for the village and future decisions in terms of how you're going to plan economic development and the placemaking itself. I guess that's my passion is the adaptive use of old buildings. That's all we do at this point. That's all we work on. The scale and the scope is exciting. It's well within our wheelhouse and our experience. Again, I think because there's specific information in the packets about the development itself, I'll leave that for question and answer. But really, it is the placemaking that we're most excited to engage with on this, as well as the building itself. But I think it's the placemaking that is going to be the long-term economic development tool for the village. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony. So I think with those pieces, we hope that you have in mind what we're looking to do, or what the vision for the project is. Turning back a little bit, just to some practical matters, just so that we restate some things about how this is going to get done. Should we be the successful applicant to be awarded the project? We have already have some introductions, some soft introductions to local construction companies and GCs in the area. We're planning on using a local construction company, obviously, and working remotely is something we're very experienced with. And both Elliot and myself, Arete Ventures and my own loan-out company, we're very comfortable doing that. And we've already, with the team that we've assembled that's local, very comfortable moving forward to try and find a local construction company to execute the project, and we're ready to proceed with it. In terms of timeline, it's also in the packet, but just to restate, we're looking at this as an 18-month project, effectively from an initial period of negotiations to put the fine print on everything between the project and the township. Once that's sorted, we're looking at an 18-month project. Originally, obviously, we were looking at an earlier timeline because of the timeline for the application, but effectively early 2024, before spring of 2024. And then finally, I just wanted to note that this is a long-term vision for us on this team. This is not our view of this project is not a pump and dump, where we would effectively, build the project, sell it off, and walk away. We're in this for the long haul. Part of the reason why we have Housatonic Realty on this team is that we're planning on managing this building for the long term. The relationship, the management with the tenant or tenants, as it evolves in the ground floor, that is of our prime concern, and also managing the property for the residential tenants upstairs. We're not looking at this as something that we're going to sell off and walk away from. It's modeled in every way for us to carry the project forward and effectively be a team player with the township for the short term, for the middle term, and for the long term. And we think that's what, we would hope that's what differentiates us from potentially another way of taking the project. So that's that's effectively the sum total of what we'd like to talk about today. We're happy to entertain questions. Again, we thank you really sincerely for the time and for the opportunity to present. We were enthused by the Berkshires. We were enthused by Great Barrington, by Housatonic, and we would love to do this project with you. And with that in mind, I'll let Kathleen McCormick field any questions that you may have, and pass it back over to her. Thank you very much.
So is there any board member who has general questions, more about the presentation tonight, clarification? We'll have a chance to do more questioning, but is there any questions?
No, not right now.
Nothing yet. I may have some. I will have later.
Perfect. Well, we thank you for your presentation.
Thank
and
you.
We will move this project along because we want to see it to completion also. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Public comment will come at our next meeting.
Sorry, just for clarity, should we stay here for questions later, or are we?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Take care.
So much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Again, there's a hand up, but we're really not taking public comment tonight. You can speak during citizen speak, but this is more than a one meeting project. So let's do the presentations first. Okay, so next is WDM.
Just looking for the
Yeah.
presenters here.
Yeah, just raise your hands if you're part of WDM and we'll promote you there. Go right ahead and introduce yourself. Is there anybody else you're expecting?
There are four of us in the room, but I'm Dave Carver, and Pete Taccone will be leading the discussion and presentation to you tonight.
Go right ahead.
My name is Dave Carver. I am the proponent for WDM Properties, the proposed owner of the development. We have been a little background of our company. Our operating company is actually CT Management Group, and that is the umbrella company for all our investments and our real estate activities up and down the county. We've been in business doing real estate up and down the county since the early 1980s. The company started as Scarafoni Associates. That has now morphed into our operating company, which is CT Management Group. We are a management group that manages our own investments. We also have a division that Pete Taccone runs that manages about 20 homeowner associations from Williamstown, Great Barrington, all the way over to Otis. Our proposal for the Housatonic School, well, let me back up a second. I think you're lucky in that both of the proponents tonight have a deep passion for renovating older buildings. In fact, about 90% of the work that we've been doing in Berkshire County has involved buying old buildings, investing in old buildings, adaptive reuse. We've been doing a number of adaptive reuse projects up and down the county, primarily for housing in the last 10 or 15 years. We think that's where the real need is in our economy for real estate development. We've done a number of projects about this size in Williamstown and Pittsfield. We just completed the conversion of several churches in the last 4 or 5 years into housing, which is very similar work to this school building. Our proposal is a little bit different than the first one you heard. Ours is very straightforward. We're proposing to do 10 units, 4 on the second floor, 4 on the third floor, and 2 in the lower level. The remaining space in the lower level, we would devote to storage space for the tenants and a mechanical room. We don't like to overdevelop properties that redevelop, especially historic properties. We want to not obliterate and erase the inside features that we think are important to a lot of these buildings. So we're proposing 10 2-bedroom units, all very similar if you look at the floor plan. As far as the site planning is concerned, we noticed that there's quite a bit of asphalt around the perimeter of the building. We would like to remove the asphalt that's on the east side facing the park and concentrate all the parking. And we'd like to have 2-to-1, 20 spaces on the other sides of the building. We're also proposing that these be in exchange for the grant proposal that you have made available in the RFP, that we would entertain a discussion to restrict these to income levels that are at 100% of the local median income as published by HUD each year. That's the essence of our proposal. It's very straightforward. It is not mixed use. We considered the discussion about mixed use in the RFP, and we concluded that with a building of this size, it's probably better to have all housing and not mix it with other uses. Sometimes there are compatibility issues with the housing and the other uses, and there are also complications when it comes to building codes, combining housing and commercial in a building of this size.
Any questions of the board? Clarifications tonight?
Plans, do they have floor plans?
I think so.
Not right now.
Not right now.
Anything else you want to add before we move ahead?
I can't think of anything. As I said, it's a fairly straightforward proposal for 10 units of market rate housing.
Thank you very much, and we will be in touch to move this project along. Your timeline would be?
A lot of it has to do with obtaining permits, which we think are achievable in 4 or 5 months. The private equity has been set aside. Private bank financing is available. We have a good relationship with many banks throughout Berkshire County. The town has indicated there may be some grant funds available to attach to the sources and uses. Probably the most time consuming would be putting together an application for historic tax credits. And we think that's achievable, but we know that right in the last couple of years, it's taken almost a year for developers to acquire the tax credits. So that's probably the most difficult piece of the financing. The rest of it, we think, is fairly achievable quickly. And as far as design, we're very involved with our architect. Bradley Architects will be our lead architect. They've done a lot of work with us in the last 30 years, and will continue to provide services for this project. And they're very responsive, and that we think the design would move along very quickly. So I would say that the most difficult piece of the capital stack is probably the historic tax credits.
Thank you very much. So the staff will be in touch with you over next steps, because we want to move this along just like you do.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, well.
Just a note for us, maybe when it might be helpful to break down the different asks from the town and from these two developers, what specifically they're looking from the town, whether it's, I know each has different buckets. So whether it's a TIF or they're dependent on historic tax credits, it might be helpful to us in our discussions just to say, compare the different asks that they're looking for financing from the town.
The staff will do that.
I'm just throwing that out. That might be helpful for us.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. New business, acceptance of a deed of 2,228 square feet of land on the east bank of Rising Pond from General Electric Company for the purpose of improvements to the town's wastewater pumping station. Chris?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Chris Rembold, can you hear me?
Yes.
Before I start on this, I just want to remark that given the nature of remote meetings, it's hard to show excitement for the two proposals that you heard. But I think on behalf of everybody, we'd like to express that excitement. So looking forward to moving this process forward, as the chair mentioned. Thanks. So this particular item and the next item, both of these items under 7, require the select board approval to accept land or interest in land. Both projects are related to the town's improvement of the pump stations at Rising Pond and at down near the senior center, south of town. The first item here, 7A, the town is seeking a little bit of land immediately south of the existing pump station at Rising Pond on Route 183. That land on that east bank of Rising Pond is, except for the pump station, is owned by General Electric. In discussion with General Electric, they are willing to donate that needed land to the town. And so we're seeking the select board's acceptance of that, and then we'll be able to use that land for our project.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion for the town of Great Barrington to accept, how should I say it, the conveyance?
To accept the land from General Electric.
To accept the land from General Electric. Thank you.
I'll second.
Discussion, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Chris, you want to go over the next one, the acceptance of an easement of over 2,699 square feet of land at 927 Main Street from Mass Electric Company for the purpose of improvement to the town's wastewater pumping station.
Thanks, Steve. Yes, very similar, same overall project. This is the pump station down near the senior center. Immediately south of the driveway of the senior center, all of that open field, that mowed field, that's owned by National Grid, also known as Massachusetts Electric Company. And we need a portion of that field, a very small portion of that field, to put in new improvements to the sewer lines that go through there, as well as the pumping station and the associated sewer lines. So this will allow us to do that and move forward with the project.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to accept the 2,699 square feet of land for the purpose of improvements to the town's wastewater pumping station from GE or from Massachusetts Electric Company.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Jim's discussion. Roll call vote, Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Before we get too far, we had the height, we had 5 panelists and 29 attendees tonight. Next is citizen speak time. So raise your hand if you want to speak. Michelle LeBear, go right ahead.
Michelle LeBear, 70 Division Street. I'm speaking tonight regarding the project, the Division Street Bridge project. On August 14th, I emailed the town manager and I CC'd the select board on that email. And the town manager did respond on August 17th to my email. However, it appeared he did not CC the select board, so I forwarded his response to the select board. That being said, reading his email, he kind of missed a couple points. On Friday, August 12th, I took the day off from work to observe the project. And in a short period of time, very large trucks were racing down Division Street. These were trucks tied to the project. Because they would go nose first to the bridge, they discovered they had to back all the way to the Guthrie Center, turn around, back all the way down. And I have it on video. And I expressed some concern because there was no one there guiding this process. We have residents on Division Street in their cars going back and forth. As a matter of fact, 2 cars had gone down to the bridge, turned around, and right in front of my house tried to get around a truck backing up. So I know Mr. Prehensky, he referenced that there's going to be truck traffic and noise. Well, in my email, I never even mentioned noise. And truck traffic's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the project, the backing up of large trucks for a great length of Division Street, turning around, backing up all the way. So that being said, because I wasn't satisfied with the town manager's response, I did some research and I connected with the Federal Highway Administration. And they have a document with regard to OSHA rules as they apply to bridge projects, bridge repair, renovation, and demolition of projects. And as a matter of fact, in section 5 of the document I'm looking at is talking about vehicles tied to a project. The vehicle, I quote, "The vehicle is backed up only under the guidance of an observer who says that it is safe to do so." There was no such guidance on Friday. When it comes to this document is just filled with stuff from porta potties for the workers, which, by the way, I went down there, I didn't see one, to lead paint, making sure there's washing stations for the workers there. But just addressing what was in my email to the town manager, it also says as far as signaling, flagmen or other appropriate traffic controls must be provided for operations where signs, signals, and barricades do not provide the necessary protection on or adjacent to a highway or street. Now, keep in mind, there are people walking on Division Street, running on Division Street, cycling on Division Street. As a matter of fact, yesterday, you would think the bridge was open for the amount of traffic that was coming back and forth and people turning around in my yard. No less than 8 times yesterday, cars turned around in my driveway. As a matter of fact, one neighbor had cement barricades at the end of his driveway because of the traffic and the cars turning around. So I'm looking at these OSHA rules, and it doesn't appear to me that they're being followed. So I certainly hope, if I was the town manager, I'd have these posted on a bulletin board somewhere, because I plan to look into them further, because I don't think the project's being handled in quite the way it should be handled, particularly in this residential neighborhood. And I really would hate to have to take another day off from work to observe it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Denise Forbes?
Hi, Denise Forbes, 325 North Plain Road. I am just bringing up the fact that I appreciate, Lee, you mentioning about the meeting last week and the fact that we need water distributed over to Flag Rock. The people there are in dire need and they really need clean water. I know I've communicated that to you before, and basically we would appreciate if something could be done, because these people are elderly and they don't have the means to go around picking up big jugs of water or transporting them back and forth to stores to get them filled up. So if there's anything the town could do, we would greatly appreciate it. And we are still dealing with brown water. And it's just crazy that this situation has been going on for so long. And nothing can be done. It's just crazy. And anyway, we are going to do a protest and we'll be communicating that soon. We are just all fed up. Anyway, that's all I wanted to report. Thank you very much. And I appreciate your help with the water with the folks at Flag Rock.
Thank you, Denise. Trevor Forbes.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Trevor Forbes, 325 North Plain Road. Just to follow up on Denise's point and Lee's point as well, just to make the point ahead of your executive session that this, in my experience, was actually a pretty well attended meeting last Tuesday. And we had very close to, I think it was around about 40 people there. And the passions were quite high, very high, I would say. And I'm sure both Lee and Ed would attest to that. So I just wanted to flag that to the select board because, again, it indicates a degree of urgency. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trevor. Jen and Chris Windrum.
Hi, it's Jen Windrum. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Just state your address for the record, please.
Sure, 214 Highland Street in Housatonic.
Thank you.
I just had a question. I was just trying to understand what the point of the presentations for the proposals were for tonight. I didn't seem to get much more information than what was presented in the documentation, and nobody on the board asked any questions. So I'm just trying to understand the process and what the point of tonight was. I know that citizen questions apparently are next week. Are we going to have the groups back next week, and will they be presenting more information?
We will have the groups back, and it's up to them how much information they want to present. But next, the staff will be looking at the phase 2 information, get that put together, and then the board and citizens will have a chance to ask questions of both groups, and they can further their presentations if they would like.
Okay, so there's more information from them coming that we can review?
If they would like, it's their choice.
Okay.
You know, we may have questions of them that they'll have to come back to us, or the public may too. So yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Elizabeth Rockefeller.
Yes, I'm wondering what, I know you're talking about providing clean water to the elderly and the low income in Housatonic. What is the feasibility of providing a stainless steel tanker so that people can go and get water, clean water from in Housatonic? And also, it should be for all people who are affected by this mess of dirty water, not just the elderly and the low income people.
Which you fall in.
Which I fall into the elderly, I must say. And also with the new project at Housatonic School and the new housing project over on, I believe, 41, how is that going to impact an already substandard Housatonic Waterworks when they can't even provide clean water to the customers they have now? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Donna, just state your full name and address, please. Just unmute yourself. Donna, if you can hear me, you just have to unmute yourself. Okay, apparently we're having a little technical difficulties there.
She might not know the star code.
Not on a phone.
Oh, she's not on the phone. Okay.
I just sent an ask on new request, so hopefully that'll work.
Good, thank you. I want to give her every chance because we're going to move ahead. Okay, let's move ahead to select board's time. Garfield?
Yes, I actually have some very vague information that I was hoping to get a little more, but I did want to mention that there's some talk of some co-housing, and I think Stephen was in on that conversation as well. But that I guess is a bunch of people, I'm saying a bunch, and I'm using loose terms here, that will own a project, and it's something we're talking about maybe with the housing authority, not the housing authority, but the affordable housing. I sure have more information for you, hopefully next meeting.
Thank you, Garfield. Eric?
Yeah, I just want to follow up with what Chris remote cited. I was happy to hear the proposals and have the guys show up, and the two that qualified still being interested to proceed. So that was exciting. Happy for the phase 2 product where they will be submitting more information, and then us, following up with all sorts of questions, answers, and all that. So excited to see that, and waiting for our next time. So then one other thing, I guess, and it's been said, and I guess it was said at the Board of Health, one thing with Housatonic residents, it's an inconvenience, but we do have the bottle filling stations in Great Barrington, one by the library. There's a few others around. I've been recycling some jugs and, filling water up there, which is, time consuming, not the most convenient, but it is a free spot to get some clean Great Barrington water. So something to think about in this times here. So that's all. Thank you.
Eric, please.
Yes, to clarify, to answer Elizabeth Rockefeller's point, so absolutely, Elizabeth, I think everyone that's impacted in Housatonic that are customers should get some relief. My point was really the immediate relief and the need from the low-income residents and the elderly at Flag Rock. But absolutely, I think everyone needs relief. But at the meeting, there was a particular call for some immediate relief for people impacted that, are really struggling with paying for water. One option I had mentioned to Mark, and I don't know if we'll be talking about it, but really tapping into the Great Barrington Fire District water, having a place that people can fill up there. So I think that's being looked at. One other mention, the Community Preservation Committee is having a meeting tomorrow at 5:30. So everyone's welcome. And that's tomorrow at 5:30. Thank you.
Thanks. Liz, you had your hand up again. Did you want to ask a question or something? You've already spoken once, but.
Yes, please, Steve. Where are these stations where you can fill water jugs? This is the first time I've heard of this.
They're at the Mason Library, at the Town Hall. Those are the ones you're referring to, right, Eric?
Nothing in Housatonic, though.
There is one in Housatonic at the Community Center.
But that is off of, I assume, Housatonic Waterworks lines. So I suggest you go in the Great Barrington one, so you're using Fire District water there, as opposed to the same thing that's coming out of your tap. So.
Okay, thank you.
Media time. Seeing none. So we're going to convene into executive session and not return to open session. Executive session under MGL Chapter 38, Section 21A for the following purpose. Number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation regarding Housatonic Waterworks. And number 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate regarding Housatonic Waterworks. So that's a first motion. Lee, please.
I move that the board meet in executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A for the following purpose. 3, to discuss strategy with respect to Housatonic Waterworks, because an open discussion may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the board. And 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, value of real estate regarding Housatonic Waterworks, because an open discussion may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, and not to return to open session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, Garfield? You're muted, Garfield.
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye. And then secondly, executive session under MGL Chapter 38, Section 21A for the following purpose. Number 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements. Do you have a motion?
I move that the board meet in executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21, to approve executive session minutes from the following meetings. July 11th, 2022.
Roll call. Second. I'm sorry. Thank you, Eric. Roll call. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye. So we will be going into executive session, not returning to public session. Thank you very much, everyone.